having active community, and people are getting into some really interesting stuff lately this year. Some really cool things happening.
Yes, it feels like a lot is happening everywhere. Yes. And yeah, I also feel that the community is moving forward in an exciting manner. I'm feeling energy popping up everywhere, and that's exciting. And then there's this reunion that's supposed to be happening in March 2020, and this has been taking such a long time to birth, but we've secured Bill's participation, so
nice, exciting.
Some news should be shared quite soon. Hello, Tommaso. Hi, Ben. Panya.
Hello.
Tommaso, how's it? Ben, how are you? Krish, Wagner?
Fresh as always. Tired as always. So
I like your ceiling.
Balance.
Your ceiling is really cool. You look like you're sitting in. Oh, Chris, it's 5 a.m. and you're there with your coffee.
Yes. Got my coffee.
Wow, good for you, man. This is touching.
Morning, folks.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, so I think that today I'm the guy who needs to speak the most. Sorry, I just finished a meeting. Okay. First of all, I don't know if everybody in this meeting know me. Just a very small introduction. I attended boot camp 1 year ago, 1 year and a half ago. But since then I started to be an entrepreneur. When you start to be an entrepreneur, your time moves differently. So it looks like 7 years. Like I have longer hair, longer beard, so it is a strange physical behavior. Because I started not only one company, I started two companies. And I do tech company. One is a B2B app. Actually, until 2 weeks ago was B2C. We slightly pivot. And another is a software for cities. So different business, but still tech stuff. In one case, we do an app. In other case, we do a platform. So I have to deal with developers. I just finished a meeting with them. I'm an engineer, but I'm not a developer. So sometimes it's very energy consuming, but it's very rewarding as well. I'm based in Rotterdam, but as you might know from my accent, I'm Italian. I came here years ago, and 1 year or a bit longer, I started to interact with Rachel, Chris, to dream about the community, because we thought that it was a pity that the bootcamp lasts only for 7 days. We wanted to last longer, but we want to come back to apply what we learned. But we didn't want to miss the opportunity to interact with such great people. So we start this together. We start to make experiments, and now we are here. So 1 year ago, we were 3 people on a call on average. Now every call has at least 20 people. So I think there is this is what people call traction. And Rachel asked me to make a presentation of, let's say, to put on paper, on the slides, some ideas, especially about the vision. So bigger pictures. I wear glasses, so my body cannot see too far, but my mind can see very far, but I'm very bad on details. So I have this problem. So if you ask me to do something very far, I can come up with 1,000 ideas. If you ask me to do one thing tomorrow, I have a lot of problems. So let's open the file and share with you the screen. If you have any question, of course, I don't have to remind you. Tell me everything. Otherwise, I will speak forever, and I don't like to listen myself too much. How do I share? Share. Okay. Do you see something?
Yes.
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 Okay, and then I'm going to share it, and let's see. Do you still see something? Not yet, I think. Huh?
It
Yeah.
says launching. It says
Okay.
launching.
Now it should be there, no?
What we can see is your Zoom webpage. Is that what you're trying to show us?
I'm trying to show the screen with the presentation.
So you have to select another screen, I think.
Oh yeah, so let me do it again.
So when you click on the green share button, you have a window that opens and you have to choose which browser you are going to.
I see, yes. Now?
Yes.
Yes. Perfect.
That's great. Okay, sorry, I just fucked up. Okay, here we go. So this is the presentation Rachel and we did in the last 2 nights. I personally sent a couple of mails to myself one night where I couldn't sleep, and it was a lot of ideas. But sometimes, I mean, the idea you had during the night, they don't last the judgment of the morning. Some of them are still are. So the title of the presentation is Onwards Together. And this is the community we are building here. In a community, we want to, so we believe, we want, we commit. And those are this is what we stand for. We wrote with Chris also, and let's say the first founder of this community, we work on a text that I really advise you to read. It's beautiful. I wanted to write something new, but I mean, it was already perfect. So that's why I choose the slide of that Bill made about the success pie. Because, I mean, somehow we are a startup, and somehow the team is what matters. And the team here make the difference. Bill always say that, I mean, ideas are free. You need to have a market. You need to be good at making, but the people who make it are what make the difference. And those people wrote the manifesto, which is still a beautiful document. I just took 2 sentences and I had 1 emoticon. By the way, there's a small spoiler. In this presentation, I'm going to see a lot of emoticons because I love to use emoticons. So our mission is to connect, support, encourage, learn from each other. Because we believe that once 2 boot campers they spend time together, energies amplify. And this is the success of good teams. You need to find energy amplifiers. And definitely Rachel amplify my energy, as well as Chris, and as well everybody else. And we believe that this can be done by co-creation and have a collaboration mindset. So again, onwards together. This is what we believe. And I also want to show you a case study that I found it interesting. Yeah, this is the kitchen. I would say the laboratory. The best restaurant in the world in 2017. It's called 11 Madison Square. It is in New York. And they choose 11 words they put on the laboratory to have a constant reminder of something they have to live by. And those words are inspired by Miles Davis, which if you don't know him, go on Spotify, beautiful music. So the words are cool, endless reinvention, inspired, forward-moving, fresh, collaborative, spontaneous, vibrant, adventurous, light, innovative. So words to be constant reminder, to live by, inspired by. So, and I mean, actually we have something to have a constant reminder, and we have somebody who might inspire us. This guy is below it. And this guy made 24 steps. So my first idea, and you're going to see many, is that why don't we choose 24 words to be inspired, something to live by? And nobody better than us can answer this question, but everybody. So I don't know, let's make a survey. let's make something to choose 24 words which define what we are. And then the moment we choose them, we make a tattoo, and Rachel is going to have a tattoo with these 21st words.
But maybe what we could do already now, like if someone has ideas and has a word coming up, you could just type it into the chat, and then we can.
Absolutely, I love it. So again, so keep this in mind, and then also, I mean, Bill always speaks about 4H to be an entrepreneur. To be an entrepreneur, you need a very good heart. So he always speaks about the spirits of a pirate. You need knowledge, you need a head, you need to have hands, so capability. You need to do stuff. So big heart, head, hands. 4H of entrepreneurship. And in our case, it's even nicer because these 4H are raised to the community power, because we have many hearts, a bigger spirit, because we do this on a voluntary base. So it's not for profit. So it implies our heart is simply bigger. And we have a lot of heads, many experts in all kinds of fields, but we share a method, the 24 steps. So 4H raised to 1,000 alumni, and this number keeps growing. And of course, you might tell me, Tommaso, that's a nice formula. You are an engineer. You are an engineer, but I see only 3H. I say, you're right, because the H we miss is the home, is the community, because without a home, there is nothing else. So you need to create a safe space where people can share tips, can support, can learn from each other. Exactly what we stayed for. Yeah, actually, Bill, he always speaks about creative irreverence. So hacking. So and he has a super nice way to express it. It's a willingness, even joy on being different. Actually, last March I was in Italy, and he spoke about these slides. And I mean, you know, Bill is a very funny guy. And he was showing those fish. He said, yeah, look at this guy, how cool is he? Look at the others, maybe they work for a McKinsey consulting group. So he was making fun of those fishes. So, but we, as entrepreneurs, we like to go against the flow. And we even have joy. So we decided to build our own, because we don't like the status quo. And the status quo is a private group on Facebook when people used to promote barbecues. So we start from this to the vision. The vision is to create a network of experts who can share tips, they can learn, support from each other. And so this is the vision. By the way, I took this image from a beautiful article Rachel wrote. Yesterday night, I read it again. And I mean, chapeau, as they say in France. So congrats. We decided to build a home. And I also share with you this. This came from the latest bootcamp, which was about scaling. And so when it's about scaling, more or less, so those professors, they classify every system which evolves into a journey, I would say, and with 3 different stages. When you have to nail it, so basically you need to find the market fit. So, and the metaphor here is the forest. When you scale it, so the moment you find something, you need to climb the mountain is to go big. And the moment you climb the mountain, you sail it. So you go in the vast ocean of your opportunity. You need to be maintained and a consistent and relevant growth. So 3 stages: the forest, which is a difficult place. So you need to be fast. And I mean, I don't know, many of you start a company, but everybody know how hard is it. And some people remain in the forest. So, but maybe you find something that is time to scale. And this is the hardest step. And then you sell it. And we start a journey together, and we start from the forest. So in the forest, we try many things, many experiments. In the forest, you have some failures. because you need to find motivated people to prototype a proposition to work simultaneously for everybody in the value chain. And when I mean everybody, all the stakeholders. In our case, stakeholders are also the bootcamp team. We try in multiple ways to interact with them. Sometimes was successful, some other time not. Actually, if you want to really understand how motivated is Rachel, go check the link there. This is a study she made in November 17 about all the possible alternative and tools used by the community to interact. And this is very crazy. So many experiments, some failures. But still we are motivated enough to keep going, and we kept. So, and finally then we find something. Again, we need to find KPI valuable for what we do. And I think the fact that every call now has 20 people is already a nice KPI. And there are some others. We show signals of market fit, or in our case, member community fit. So our community now counts on Medi Network more than 600 alumni, 28 circles, so we're specific discussion. We meet almost every week for some reason or the other, and then we run projects. So there are all the projects, there are beautiful ideas that, I hope we can continue everything. So starting from the hack, I also read back the hack we did for Chris, the guy on the call who just woke up, and the hack was beautiful. So it was a beautiful journey. It lasted for 1 month, and Chris came out with one problem that his company was facing, and he asked 4-5 students, alumni, to give him tips on a weekly basis. So it's a very valuable feedback session that we can benefit from, because you have diverse points of view, and especially global points of view. That's, not every consultancy firm can give you one guy from Italy, one guy from New Zealand, somebody else from US. So this is very valuable. And we also ran a crazy experiment, 24 hours for 24 steps, which was brilliantly led by Rachel. And so it was a nice experiment. Without mentioning the planning, the reunions, and the radar. We just spoke about the radar, and I came up with the idea, why not do we make a Pokemon Go of students, alumni? So you have to go in the world to catch them, and maybe you make a selfie. So, but I think we nail it. So we are almost at the end of the forest, and now we have the mountain. It's not the mountain we conquer, but it's ourselves. So it's been a journey when we discover something. And there are 2 important steps, which shows that we are becoming more bureaucratic, and that's a good sign. So the first, we need to make a legal association. So, and then it's going to open many opportunities. So I hope Chris later has some time to explain the value of this, because, for example, this is what surprised me the most. So we can finally get money out of something, could be sponsored, and we can use this money to pay scholarships to new boot campers. And this is brilliant. And then the reunion. So the reunion will see 150 plus alumni of the boot camp in 3 days in Boston. So it's time to start our revolution. So, and we are going to interact, solve, have impact on the local startup ecosystem. And the way I see personally, that the reunion will kick off the whole community. And I think it has to be broadcasted to everybody. And I think we need to learn from the Delta V in Boston, the MIT. So Delta V, for those who don't know, it is the startup program students from MIT apply for. It lasts for 3 months during the summer. And at the end of summer, in September, those people present on stage, and it is one of the most popular events at MIT. So there is below LEDs, a lot of live session, a lot of nice things. And I think we should take inspiration from them, because since we are a very inclusive community, we shouldn't forget the people who cannot attend. So we need to be as much as possible inclusive by making online videos, Instagram stories, let's go crazy. So the question I have for everybody is, how do we prepare it? And maybe it's time to create a social media account. And maybe in the future we can become an influencer and we can get some money out of this. And maybe even contact magazines, or, it has to be both. Because the idea of this reunion that we literally plug 150 innovators to a system, and imagine how powerful it could be. So, because the way I see it is that maybe it's time to look for a systematic approach, So stay with me. So you attend a bootcamp, you join the association, and you do many online initiatives, and maybe you even create your own, and then you participate to the reunion, and then you repeat it. So maybe you attend a new bootcamp, or maybe you do new initiatives, and every year the reunion could be our main event. And since we are inclusive, we can go everywhere in the continent. So I think we need to try to systematize this constant online, offline approach. So online, we interact with the community. Offline, okay, we do the reunion, which is the biggest event, but maybe we organize mini reunions, local reunions. We just meet one boot campers. So because I think that the community really gets value if this online, offline stays. And online could be feedback sessions. So like the Hack for Startup we tried, or offline could be a coffee with a boot camper. So, but let's try to think together on a systematic approach. Because I see like this as a circle. So every year could be the new time, and maybe every 24th of May could be the 24-hour step, the 24-hour marathon could be the day. It's time to be systematic. We are scaling. We need rules. But scaling, it is the hardest challenge, definitely. And this is an image took from one of the main website experts in network effects. And those people, of course, they are biased because it is their expertise. But they say that the network effects, it is the best way to create value. Much more than branding, scaling, or putting your product in somebody else's platform. So my question to everybody is, how do we maximize the network effect in the community? A network effect, it is the value of the network grows more than linear, in an exponential way, as many people are part of it. But we need to find a way. We need to think about this. For example, like there is a mathematical law, Reed law. We say that the value of the network goes much faster because of the density of some groups. And the densities could be local groups, circles, like in Mighty Network, but also, why don't we create national subgroups? I live in Rotterdam, and maybe every 2 months I can go to Amsterdam to have a dinner with somebody who participated. Or I'm Italian, we can have a local Italian sections. Somehow, I don't know if Chris once mentioned the Switzerland political system. It is beautiful because it is very local, and on local basis they decide a lot. And only the fake decisions are taken centralized. But in a way, this is very reliable. And we could think about that. We could also think about feedback sessions. For example, this is something I took from the last bootcamp. During the last bootcamp, we were split in groups of 5, and we have 1 hour session when everybody gets feedback. And I think that also people in this community can give me feedback about my company, or at least it's going to be great for me to think about myself. And the reason why there is a serendipity token. The reason why it is the very last thing I'm going to say, because this is the biggest bullshit. So the idea is, since in this community there are many blockchain crazy guys, why don't we create a bootcoin? Instead of a Bitcoin, a bootcoin. So a blockchain that every time two bootcamper meet each other, together they create a serendipity token. So something magic happens. And this could be, I don't know, a boot coin that you can buy the next boot camp or something like that. But, you know, why don't we make a blockchain for fun? But I told you, that's the biggest bullshit. That's why it's the last thing I'm going to say. Now, this is, the reason why it's a bullshit because it's not true. This is the last thing I'm going to say. Home is where the art is. And so everybody is here for a reason, because we love to be here. So now I have stopped. I'm going to stop my screen and we can continue our conversation. By the way, I'm going to put the link of this presentation on the chat, so you can, and feel free to change whatever you want. Now you should.
Thank you so much, Tommaso, for your wonderful slide deck and for your words. I wanted to just say a brief comment on stretch collaboration, because for me, one of the things that have emerged through experimenting ways to keep the community together, I used to have a much more fixed vision of what I thought it should be like. And then when I read Adam Kahane's book called Collaborating with the Enemy, there was this, not that we're enemies, but it's also true that in a very large community, when you're very inclusive, there are people you get along with really well and people you get along with less well. Some people that you might not agree with for a certain period of time, or you might really dislike each other. So one of the dilemmas was like, what do you do about that? And so when I came across the idea of stretch collaboration, I was fascinated by that, because that was the answer to this dilemma. And it's about being so inclusive of the diversity of everyone. So diversity means not just skill set, but the diversity also in terms of availability. You know, someone might be really engaged at some point and then not be able to have any bandwidth for alumni community for maybe a year or two. They might have, you know, health issues, family issues, work issues, or just not interested at the time. So the stretch, I think the stretch collaboration concept is very strong, because it means that in the end, if we have a strong container with these elements in it free to move around, then there's always going to be one set of configurations that's going to work during one phase in time. So that means that we can create so many overlaps of how we want to be working with each other. We could have completely different objectives. Some people just want to connect and tell their story. Some people want to launch a business. Some people want to find a co-founder. And I think the beauty and the challenge and the richness of our community is that we can hold all of this and find ways to make it possible. So that also means letting go of, you know, it should be like this or should be like that. Or if you are a cohort rep, then you'll have to do A, B, C, and D. And that's just not possible. I mean, it could, in the beginning, it's one of the things you think that, okay, you're a cohort rep, so now tomorrow I need you to message everybody in your class. And sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. So it can be really frustrating to nurture that kind of expectation. So stretch collaboration is where you can find overlaps, even if you're not best friends. In some cases, you might not even trust each other very much, which is fine too, because we can't, it's like in a family. So in a family, you have relatives, and sometimes it's harmony, and sometimes it's, you know, it can be really disruptive and really difficult. And I think our community reflects that, because we are from all over the world. We have a range of expertise, which is extraordinary. And I think for me, the container is this home that Tommaso talked about. So it's a space where we can find each other. And I think that is like the main ingredient of what we should be trying to create, because we are like we go through this amazing experience, and then suddenly this home that we felt when we were there, it's like, where is it? There isn't this container. So we can create this container and hold this container. And I think, yeah, that's just what I wanted to say about stretch collaboration. So one of my great lessons over these 3 years, almost 4 now, is, you know, you can't have a fixed vision. And it's so interesting to also gather all the various elements, all the objections, like objections and criticism can just bring so much also to the, you know, the picture. And I used to get very upset and down, you know, disheartened when there was a challenging question, or even if there was a question like, why are you doing this? And I didn't really have an answer. And I felt like, ugh, I feel really silly. I don't really know what to say. So for me, it's about flexibility and the desire to be finding solutions together. And I really think that we have such a range of people with amazing capacities. We've all been selected, right? So we're not here by chance. And this presentation that Tommaso made for us, thank you so much, Tommaso. And really, I know for a fact, like we were messaging at night, and Tommaso really stayed up. Tommaso's running 2 startups, for those who came in late and don't know. It's just crazy, and he still finds the time to do this. And I was so angry, not angry, but like I have to tell you that the 24 hours is like one of his crazy ideas. And then for part of the project, he wasn't able to attend to it. And I was like, oh, Tommaso, what are you doing to me? And why am I following up on this? But then in the end, it ended up being a really, really amazing thing. And so that's also what's interesting. I think that we can capture each other's ideas and make them happen. So it's really interesting. There's no rule, I think, except that you have to go where the energy is. And if we're all together, there's always going to be energy somewhere. And it's like passing over a baton when you're doing a relay race. And I think that's what I believe in. And yeah, I think I'll stop there. So after this presentation, I think it'd be really interesting for us to just if you feel something, just unmute and speak. So you unmute yourself by going to the little mic icon that's bottom left. And we would love to know what you're feeling and where you feel energy, and what would you like to see happen next. And for those of you who asked, so all of this is going to be reshared. Tommaso, I think, yeah, he shared the link to the document, to his slide. There's lots of clickable links, so you can go and look at, there's a lot of embedded information, so you can click and see all the things that he has alluded to, and you can see it with your own eyes, like the circles, the events, the article, what we've written, the manifesto, everything. And you also find everything in Mighty Networks if you look around a little bit. But I'd love to open the floor to any questions, any insights, any ideas. And yeah, Andres, please.
First of all, hello, and sorry for being late, but I joined at a serendipitous moment when Tommaso was talking about how to scale the network effect. And one of the things that I have found in the last 4 years is that one of the best ways to scale the network effect is to connect networks. And one of the beauty of MIT and the communities we are in is that most of them are open trying to make change. And some of them have some capacities, others have other capacities. For instance, what Rachel is in practice doing is that she is a link between us and the Presencing Institute. And they already have other skills that are complementary to the MIT bootcamps. So in a sense, we are 2 different communities that both are looking to scale the network effects. So by working together, we can create better projects, more lasting change. Because what I have found is that, for instance, in the U Lab, you may find people that are more socially aware, that are more careful about trying to make lasting change, but may not have much technical skills as much as we do in this kind of community. So trying to, one of the most quick ways to scale network effects can be scale what is already big somehow. Especially for me, for instance, in a developing country where I don't have many communities. For instance, I posted something on Facebook trying to make a connection of all the people that were to the bed camp in Colombia. We are 4. So we are already connected in a WhatsApp group. just because of that a small post in Facebook. But we already reached the limit of the people that attended the bootcamp. But the applicants to the bootcamp are more than 4, for instance. The people that were part of the ULAB are more than 10, and they already have some sort of awareness about what we are trying to accomplish. So my idea for scaling the network effect can be connecting to other networks that share our purpose, that share our DNA, and that are complementary to us. That's what I have been trying to do in practice, and it has been valuable for me, at least on a local scale. And I'm pretty sure on a global level, there are more than one connection that is already happening. So it's just about mapping those kind of connections, because the communities are already overlapping. And in that sense, I connect to what Rachel was saying about the stretching collaboration as well, because it was insightful for me as well.
Thanks, Andre. So when you say connecting to other networks, that's really interesting, and it's been a topic that's come back into the conversation again and again. So I'm just wondering, like, do you have an idea for how that could happen? Because at the moment, the Mighty Networks is like a closed space, right? Because the definition of it is it's a safe space. The platform does allow for the creation of what they call like courses. So one of the ideas that has been emerging as well is like, how could we be possibly creating clusters that could be, you know, consulting for, you know, outwards towards other, you know, companies or other organizations. So that, but how would you see this happening in terms of maintaining a safe space, but also cross-pollinating with other communities? So how could we bring in this other energy, and how do we create levels of differentiation, and, you know, how would that work? Do you have a...
I have talked about that, and I have 2 insights, early insights from this process. One of them is that from a podcast from Reid Hoffman and Joe Ito, they talked a lot about the balance between open networks and closed networks. There should be a balance between both of them. Otherwise, it will not be manageable, or it will not reach impact. It will just be some people talking to each other, but not necessarily doing things. So in a sense, what we have as a closed community is something that is very powerful. But there are moments on which we need more than what we have. In those moments, we need other skills. So one of the early things that perhaps would be valuable to do would be 2 things: mapping the people that are connected to more than one network, and 2, perhaps trying to map these needs that they are having in these communities, and the needs that we are having in here. Some sort of research of what haven't we been able to do yet. So those 2 things can give us valuable inputs to connect to others and learn how to connect to others. For me, that has been my starting point to connect to other communities, because I'm already involved in 5 communities, in 5 different communities. And one of the things why I have been connecting to other communities is because in some part, there's something that I haven't been able to find in the communities I'm in. For instance, at the beginning in MIT bootcamps, I didn't find strong resources about human-centered design. And then I connected to IDEO and Acumen. And now I'm connected to 3 different communities because of human-centered design. And these are 3 different communities. And they can benefit a lot from our inputs in the Open IDEO challenges. And in Open IDEO challenges, they already have that platform. They have resources for that. And the people in us may benefit from getting extra resources in that camp. So it's not necessarily to do the same 5 different times, but the things that are already creating, make it then leveraging the impact of what is already created and mapping the people that can be those cross-pollinators across communities.
And where does the intersection, like physically or digitally, happen? So are you the at the intersection point, and how do you create the sort of connection?
Well, the problem I have is that I have reached my human limit because and now I'm in 5 different platforms at the same time, and there are peak points where you get 5 different messages and 5 different challenges. That's it. So it's unmanageable, but it's about finding the things that matters to you at some point. And each of us have our platform, and these platforms are valuable for us because they are the way to connect to us a community. And we have to arrange things in order to be powerful enough outside. So I think balancing those things can be very valuable, but it can be just about posting opportunities in other communities. It can be just as basic as that, mapping the people that can connect and mapping opportunities of connection. Those 2 things can be starting points that may not require a lot extra effort. And we can start building from that.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Andres. That's really good insights. And thank you, Tommaso, for that wonderful presentation. Very energetic. It kind of connects you with the feeling that you went through the bootcamp experience. So I think that's we are looking for, and so that's great. And I'm agree with you that I think it's a good time to think of scaling this community. And in order to do that, I moved to the insights from Andres that he said connect with other networks. And I mean, you guys have the same idea in both different places, because you, Tommaso, talked about speaking to magazines, to innovation magazines, to start giving us visibility and that kind of stuff. But and I agree with that, and I think that this goal is an effort towards gaining that visibility, because me personally I think that right now we're not like really ready to have like that kind of visibility right now, and that's why we are undertaking these whole efforts to figure out what we are and what do we want, and what all of those stuff that makes a community really unified, because everyone knows what do we want and why do we do things, right? So I think that if we want to let's say put up a milestone, I would say that from here, like from this moment until the first reunion, I think we should have that figured out, because I mean, if one of the cool things about being a boot camper and have this network ready to welcome you is that, I mean, it's almost like if we have like some sort of secret salutation or something, and that I'm just supposing stuff. I mean, you can get along with anyone in the world. So I think we miss that like very concrete thing and very concrete representation of our vision, and like this flag that we all that we are being represented by. And I think that if we want to have that sort of visibility, that's very important, because if we do it right, then it will be easier to welcome new initiatives if they are aligned with our values. I love the idea of the 24 words to define us, but I think those are like kind of values. I say that we need to state like what do we want, from each other. I think that's a basic, very simple question. Like for example, I imagine, like I assume that a lot of us are interested in the future of work, and I say the word work because right now there's no other word for it, but it's something like we all know as value creation, right? We are in this community because we like the feeling of creating value for someone else, even if that's value it's just in a simple conversation, or it's millions of users that you are impacting. We are thrilled by the idea of creating value. So I mean, and that's just an insight. What I say is that we should, I think we should state like what do we want, and to give us ourselves like this very tangible and concrete image to the world to communicate just that, and that another networks that we communicate to and magazines and institutions start looking at us and say, hey, yeah, that's the MIT Bootcamp community or something, and they are focused on these goals, and then you know the word will be passing by, and day by day will be more renowned of that single goal, and so those are my thoughts. I think that we should create for ourselves like this clear goal, or kind of get a sense of what we want, so we can communicate to other institutions or communities, and hopefully get them excited to work with us or collaborate with us in any way.
I think that's a great idea to offer value and show how much value we have to offer. And one of the things that we have as a valuable input is that we can build upon what MIT shares openly and give our opinion about that as a community in order to make that an extra level or something like that. Because in a sense, it already happened. The MIT bootcamps was the very beginning, was the first time that MIT opened to a wider audience. And it was an experiment after a MOOC. Now the MOOCs are translated to other things. And after that, there was the MicroMasters, and the MicroMasters happened after the bootcamp, just as a new entry point to the MIT community. So they have been experimenting to us, but we haven't been able to give our inputs about what we think about that. And this input can be reports about the future of education or the future of work, as you were saying. So those can be another entry points of connection with other communities, because there is a world a bit of new knowledge about understanding the things that we don't know what it's going to look like. So that can be a third point of connection to other networks that I find very interesting.
Great. I would only like to add one point, that this last weekend I was having a conversation with Redmond Sue, and he told me in our conversation that the community was having the Boston reunion, and I wasn't aware of that. So maybe I could help making some like some posts that we could put more like on Instagram or on our own groups that we have on WhatsApp with our bootcamp classes, that we could share that information there. That's only one idea that I have.
Thank you. This actually brings up the topic of information flow sometimes getting stuck. And that's one issue we still have. We haven't found a way to ensure that everybody knows what is happening and when. And we're still looking for solutions to that. So now it is true that around the reunion right now, the updates haven't yet been completely shared. So we usually post into Facebook and also into the Mighty Networks, and then we ask people to share and tag their friends. But around the reunion, I think the group is still trying to get to a point where they can describe exactly what's going to happen. So it's still pending some confirmations and some information, and then it should start to circulate. But I do hear you, because I agree that we don't have a surefire way to ensure that everybody knows everything. And it's a little bit piecemeal in the sense that you have to be at the right place, in the right place at the right time to catch the information. And this is something we need to find, I think, moving forward, we need to find a better solution for that. That said, you know, we can't force everyone to be on the Facebook group. And even if you're on the Facebook group, sometimes the news elements just slip past because the timeline moves. If you're not tagged, you might not see it. If you're on holiday, you might not see it. If you're doing a digital detox, you might completely miss it. So even email is not a sure way either, because, you know, lots of emails can elude your attention if they end up in spam, or if you just have too many things coming in. But that is something we weren't able to solve, and hopefully, so we're relying a little bit on finding a consensus with the bootcamp team, because they have the whole database and they theoretically are able to reach everywhere. But that's not always seamless, in the sense that before they can put their endorsement behind something, they also need to ensure that everything is in place. So it's kind of like catch-22, because in a way, if all the alumni knew about it, we would be maybe generating more co-creative energy that would move things forward faster. So it's like the chicken and the egg thing. So do we tell everyone before everything is in place? And my reply would be yes, of course we do, because we're creating it together. And then there's the top-down approach, which is like we'll put our seal of approval once it's all perfectly planned, and we can say, yes, this is a high-quality proposition that we're putting forward. So it's kind of it's a little bit of a paradox at the moment, and we keep trying to ensure that this gets, you know, it's a better oiled machine, but it's the reality of it is it's still quite messy. It's a patchwork thing we're doing, and if anyone has, you know, ideas about that, so we're trying to reach in a capillary fashion through, you know, the various channels. And it's also true that everyone has a preference. So some cohorts are very happily connecting on WhatsApp, others are in Facebook groups that they're not using anymore. It's quite difficult to ensure. But I think that
one thing related about that, sorry for interrupting you, is that Tommaso was talking about national groups or something like that at the very beginning, when I was joined. So my beginning. And that national thing can connect to some sort of national ambassadors of something that can help the flow information at a more local level. And that can be beneficial besides platform. That's my case, for instance. I can be more effective bridging information to Colombia's assistance to MIT than I have been so far to the connection of the MIT Bootcamp 1. Because my connection to the MIT Bootcamp 1 is one Facebook group that most are not using anymore. But to my local entrepreneurs, I have a WhatsApp group that we don't use often, but we share some information across us. So that can be some sort of thinking about physical and digital connection of our community that can be beneficial for a better flow of information, because I know it's challenging, especially for a community that is constantly growing and that it's abandoning platforms because of the information overload that we are having.
So I'm just aware that we have 6 more minutes. I would love to, is there someone who would like to speak who hasn't spoken? I want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to voice. So is there, especially people who are still fresh from, you know, the magic of bootcamp, like, is there something that you are seeing that you really want, like you're feeling you really want to see happen? Or, and I'm aware also there's a lot posted into the chat, and we'll share this back, and we can't address all of it, but thank you all for sharing there too, your words and your ideas. And if you'd like to speak about something, please seize the moment.
Hey guys, this is Krish.
Hi, Krish.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, sorry, there's something wrong with my laptop. My camera is not working. So, Tommaso, wow. After a long while, man, like that was a blast of a presentation and really liked it. And Rachel, thanks a lot, right? Like, I missed the last meeting, but I made it sure that I joined it on time. The last meeting I was just like when I joined it for just 10 minutes. So very quickly, I know that we are running out of time. I have posted a lot of my thoughts on top of it, right? I like the idea of, creating a kind of a boot coin, or, if you're talking about like, not only just boot coin, if you're talking about like one of the problem today is that if you have a problem, how do you address it? Now, I, I, I think that the next call, I want to present something, and this will be very informational and this will be very useful, because out of the 1,000 people who attended boot camp, including me, there are a lot of people who are still working, or they are thinking to start a startup, right? Or they want to be entrepreneur. Now, the thing is that it's not that you attend the boot camp, you become an entrepreneur from the day one. Some people take that experience, use it somewhere, or some people, take that experience and go for the further studies, as we have seen. The problem comes in that even if you are working, even if you believe in, not only entrepreneurship, if you want to believe in intrapreneurship, where you do it inside the organization, the biggest problem comes in when you need to know where do I find the help, right? I actually ended with a note over there. When you see, you don't have to know everything, you just have to know where to find it. Now, out of this 1,000 people, we have a lot of people who know a lot of things. Now, for me, I am an advisor to 2 tech startups in US. Apart from the regular job that I do, I'm also mentoring around 10 students across the globe. And I'm also part of the Facebook mentorship program, and I'm mentoring not only students, I'm mentoring people who are from different organizations or be from startups. The thing is that there are people who want to really help. There are people who will actually help you guide towards it. For example, like, there might be a problem statement that somebody wants to really, they have an idea, they really want to churn it out. So one of the plays what we think is that if we create something like, we really love that thing when we went to MIT bootcamp, that elevator pitch. If we are doing it, and if you remember, there was like a 60-second video that you had to submit when you were actually applying for MIT bootcamp. What did that help you, and why did you make sure that everything is conveyed in the 60 seconds? And that way you will always reach out to the crowd that this is what I need, this is what we need. Now, the problem is the profiling. Now, that's what I was thinking, that it is now a dream, but given the workforce of 1,000 people, given, and I really like the idea when Rachel last time spoke of, or when the survey came up, that if we legalize this entire thing. Now, let's say there are 1,000 people, and if trying to create something as, like, we know about LinkedIn, but if we want to create something like that for entrepreneurs, right? So how to make sure that you pick up the funding, how to make sure you map the right talent and all of that. And out of this 1,000 people, let's say, given a chance, I might say that, okay, I want to invest based on equity. Now, all that thing has to be thought of, but imagine the kind of thing that it will grow. It will eventually grow a lot, because there are a lot of places, there are a lot of sites. I'm part of co-founder labs. There are places where you can do this. But one of the major difference where it is how what is the level of authenticity that you bring to the table, right? Now, one thing Rachel said that, the connection, when you start to connect, people are enthusiastic, but then they grow down. The reason is need, demands, and all of these actually lead to connection. So need lead to connection. If I have a need, I will definitely look out for people who can help me. The only thing is I might not be able to really come across and say that, okay, I need some help on this, unless and until people know that I have the requisite skill set. So my idea is that, I've written a lot of my, chain process, that how we can, look into it. It's a little detailed, but maybe you can take a look at it. And the next, in the next meeting, or on the next meet that we have, I'd like to present something very quick, very interactive. And we'll also try to see that what is available, like on the internet, that we can do. Now, this will help to make sure that people who agree, so if I am creating a pseudo group inside portal or inside that, so we don't have to look into the technicalities that how do we build it. The only thing is that you think of it and we build a basic structure on it. The only thing is that if you commit to that group, you need to commit some time and make sure that you're not just an advisor, you are giving potential feedback to it. And that entire process will be like, I like the idea of Delta V that, I really follow Delta V. So Tommaso told about Delta V. We can do similar kind of a thing once in 6 months, where we say boot Delta V or boot V, where we come across and, we say that, okay, these are the people and these were the ideas and, this is how it was being achieved. These are the feedback that we get and all the information that we get. So there's a lot of thing around it. It's all about us. We are a team of strong community. We are a strong community team. The only thing what we believe and what I believe is we should be able to help each other, but that can happen only when we know each other's strength, right? And it's not just tags. So I'm thinking on it. Probably in the next call or the next meet, I will try to address it in a larger way.
Well, one of the initiatives to start creating this mapping is also to conduct the alumni interviews. And then yesterday I was discussing with Siddhartha Dash. He was thinking, okay, imagine we had, say, 800 individual interviews mapping out profiles. Then we would need to find a way to create an effective mapping system, because we can't imagine all of us reading through all of these interviews and remembering all of it, right? So we would need a system of tagging and maybe of clustering, so that when we're looking for something, then we are sort of directed to the interview that would be relevant, and that could be a connection point, because our community is also growing and growing and growing. And so one of the questions is like, how do we manage this? Because now we have a moment of pause until I think the next boot camp. The next open boot camp is in March 2020, right? So, but it's been crazy. Between June and September, there were like 5 boot camps in 2019, and people just kept coming in. And of course, the new alumni sometimes don't know what's been going on before, so people come with the same the same idea. Oh, let's build a community, and so there's overlaps too. But yeah, thank you, Krish. And I'd love to know, let's follow up on these various ideas, because then the thing is, once we have an idea, how do we turn that into next steps and actually a simple action plan that can be, I love also the idea of creating regional clusters, but that also means that someone has to step up and say, I'm going to hold space, for people in Italy, I'm going to hold space for people in Mexico. And again, we run into this thing of like, who feels like doing what, because it might happen in Brisbane, it might not happen in London, depending on who's there and who feels energy for that. So what we need to come up with, though, quite quickly is like a good set of like 3 or 4 propositions, like what are we alumni community doing? Because we need to tell the world, we need to tell bootcamp team, we need to tell people who might be sponsoring us, like what are we doing that is going to be important to them, and why would they need to be investing time or attention or money in us? And I think that is quite a pressing issue, and that's what the bootcamp reunion planning team is also trying to get to grips with, because they are creating a slide deck, and that's going to be presented to people who could be potential sponsors. So we have a tangible objective now is to come up with who are we and what are we doing. So yeah, we want to have this amazing container where we could have all the possibilities open, but that's not a good pitch to an investor. It's like, he's going to say, well, what's that to me? What do I care? So what are the things that we're building that are going to be meaningful to other people, and that they would be able to, say, I want to invest in supporting this. I'm going to put time, I'm going to put energy, I'm going to put, I'm going to help you become visible. So this is probably something that it's a conversation that needs to be continued. But as usual, so this has been recorded. We'll be sharing this back into the community. Maybe we need to do like another call about this. But next week we want to maybe have a call about those who came out of venture scaling. And Tommaso, I have to catch you and check with you if that's possible. But it'd be really nice also to hear like what happened at the venture scaling bootcamp, and yeah, know more about that cohort actually. So I think we have to wrap it up there. It's as always, 1 hour goes by so quickly, and yeah, thank you all for joining, and let's see if there's part of this that we can progress offline. So in the follow-up that will be shared, maybe we could just have either in the comments on Mighty Networks, or we could create a Google document. We'll see where the conversation goes, but it'd be nice to continue building on this in some way. And if anyone wants to actively help with the reunion planning, just shoot me a message and I'll put you in touch with those who are doing it, because fresh energy is always welcome to help me move things forward. Thank you so much, everyone. I wish you a lovely morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. And thank you, Tommaso, for presenting, and all of you for participating. What are you saying? What?
There is one thing.
Yeah.
So first of all, thank you for the ideas. So actually, yesterday after I made the presentation, Rachel told me, "Yeah, that's beautiful." To say, well, thank you, but I think the best part will be the comments of the people invited to the conversation, and actually, it was true. So the best part was your ideas, and whatever is going to come out. There is one last thing. We need to take a group selfie.
Oh, yeah. Screenshot time. Oh, Chris, your camera's not working, right? You said. Gagan, are you able to reappear with your wonderful...
Oh. So
yay.
we only miss Chris, but... So...
Chris, I'll Photoshop you in, Chris, okay? You just send me a picture and I'll Photoshop you in.
Yeah, sure, we'll do that.
So, Tommaso, are you doing the screenshot? Or should
Go. Maybe you are more...
I'll do it. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, cheese. There we go. Thank you.
I did smile.
Good thing you remembered, Tommaso. Thanks. Thanks, everyone. See you again soon.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Yes,
Bye,
guys.
everyone. Thanks.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Ciao.